Today we talk about creating opportunities to create great content. This show is for everyone working at the coalface. Digital, business, marketing, social. This is At the Coalface with your host, Jason Greenwood. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Greenwood. Welcome to episode 43 of At the Coalface. Today we talk about a subject that is, I guess, the top of mind for just about everybody in the digital space. If you work in digital, if you own an agency in digital, if you do anything with the modern social media landscape, do anything with the modern blogging, vlogging landscape, then you know all about the topic that we're going to discuss today, which is how to create fantastic content. However, we're going to take this from a slightly different vantage point today, and that is more importantly discussing how to create an environment or opportunities to create great content. It's not enough to just think and decide that you're going to go out and make content, but how can you create in an environment, create opportunities to create that fantastic, magnetic, tasty content that will build an audience around that content that has sustainable momentum, build a community around that content that interacts not only with the content and with each other, but you as the content creator, and build something that is sustainable over the long term. And so one of the things that I guess I have noticed in my own quest to create content is it's vastly easier to put myself in a scenario whereby great content is easy to create and opportunities just present themselves naturally. It's much easier to put myself in that scenario than to try to think of great content just because I know it's part of a schedule. It's something I know I need to do, it's something I know I need to do consistently, and so therefore it becomes part of a chore, if you will, that you need to do. If you approach it like it's a chore, then it just becomes a drudgery and it's something that you don't enjoy. It's not necessarily talking about things that you love and that you're passionate about and that you're experiencing in real time, but you tend to talk about things that you think you need to talk about to generate an audience or draw an audience in, and that's the wrong motivation. So obviously we've all got things that we're passionate about, we've all got interests that we're passionate about, but one of the things that I've learned, especially from working with my local squash club, taking over all of their social media, is that in a club environment such as that, you've got ample opportunities to create fantastic, tasty, relevant content for people that would be interested in squash. So there's regular games at set times every single week that are happening both within the club and away games happening outside the club at various different clubs in the region. And as a result of that, there's an opportunity 3, 4, 5 times a week to shoot live streaming video to something like Facebook Live from those events. And so they're real time, they're interactive, you can get close-ups of different players, you can even get interaction from players, you can get commentary from players, but more importantly, you're just simply able to watch competitive squash being played as it relates to your local club members and people in the region. So it's a very relevant, very timely content that's easy to create because the opportunity is always there. For me personally, when I'm traveling, when I'm going to events, when I'm participating in panels, when I've been asked to speak, when I'm at a meetup group, or if I'm going to meet with partners, etc., it does make it vastly easier to create that content. When I'm going to meetup meetings, it makes it easier to create content because the opportunities are just endless in that scenario. And so what I would urge you to do is to set yourself up for success by making sure that you are creating opportunities, getting involved in your local community, getting involved in your industry, getting involved in all of the interests and passions that you naturally have, such that it creates these natural and very native, very authentic opportunities to create content. There's three primary ways that you'll be generating or pushing out content to your networks, and that is, one, either simply distributing content, so effectively curating existing content that's coming into you, whether that be articles that you read, whether that be resharing social content that has been shared with you that you vet first for relevancy for your audience. And then you have the opportunity to document, which is to simply document someone else's journey, or to, when you're talking with other people, to get that feedback from them. Or if you're documenting, then oftentimes you'll be doing something maybe like an interview or an off-the-cuff chat with someone, and you're able to document that. You're able to document what's happening in the community. You're able to simply go to an event and simply document the activities that are happening all around you. And then there's the hardest type of content creation of all, which is to create brand new, fresh content, such as this type of video that I'm creating now. And creating that content and creating topics and subject matter that is going to be interesting to your potential audience, to create that consistently and to have the personality to be able to go with that and to be able to present that in a likable, entertaining, fun, magnetic way, and make sure that you, I guess, always have that personality on point, to make sure that you are ready to go, to make sure you have that passion for what you're talking about. Because I tell you, if you don't, it comes through in your content that you create, and I'm sure that you guys know that as well. When you're watching a piece of content or listening to a piece of content, if the person that's talking about it is talking about it in a very passive sort of a way, it's very obvious. It's very obvious when it's not authentic. It's very obvious when it's not real. It's very obvious when it's something that they actually don't know much about, but they're trying to create content because they think it will draw the kind of audience that they want, or they're trying to create bait, effectively, as it were, to draw an audience in and create and build an audience. And that's very obvious. We as human beings have that natural bullshit filter built into us that we just can tell straight away when someone is not being genuine. It's probably a throwback to an evolutionary element to us that helps us to avoid people that would take advantage of us, or situations that would take advantage of us. So our bullshit filter tends to be pretty high, and as a result of that, content that is not genuine tends to stick out like a sore thumb. And so that's why it behooves you to not only create content about things that you're passionate about and knowledgeable about, but set yourself up by creating circumstances, scenarios, and opportunities whereby that content comes naturally. And that's really the focus of this video. That's the focus of what I'm trying to communicate today, is really you want to be putting yourself in scenarios, you want to be putting yourself in circumstances where that opportunity to create content does come naturally, where you don't have to press it, where you don't have to push it, where it just feels very natural, and it's going to come across as very natural, whether it be that you're interviewing someone, talking to a friend, talking to a colleague, talking to someone that you've wanted to talk to for some time around this particular subject matter. Like, for me personally, I'm a big fan of Avinash Kaushik, and he's a legend in the digital space, he's a legend in the analytics space, he's a legend in the marketing space. And so for me, if I ever got an opportunity to interview him, and I will actually try to get him on the show at some point, he doesn't do a tremendous amount of interviews, so you feel very lucky if you ever have a chance to interview him. And so if I was ever put in that scenario where I had the opportunity to interview him, it would be a very natural scenario, because he's somebody that I've followed for a very long time, read several of his books, have tried to consume as much content as he puts out there. And as a result of that, I feel like, even though I don't know him personally, I feel like I know enough about him that I can have a very natural sort of banter backwards and forwards, a natural question and answer sort of scenario. So, I guess the point of this is, if you know Avinash Kaushik and you think he'd like to be on our show, then by all means point me in the right direction of how I can easily get a hold of him, and we'll see how we go. But like I said, key thing, create opportunities, create scenarios, and make sure that you're always thinking outside the box, thinking creatively about how you can put yourself in a scenario to create fantastic, magnetic, tasty content that everybody wants to consume, that has an interest in the types of things that you're creating content around. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. And if you've had experiences like I have where sometimes it does feel a little bit pressed, you're on a schedule, whether the company you work for, maybe you're responsible for creating the content or curating the content, or maybe you work for an agency or something like that in the digital space where creating content is actually part of your day job, but it doesn't necessarily feel genuine to you because it's not natural. The settings are very pressured in terms of the content that you need to put out. Maybe talk about some scenarios like that versus scenarios where it's very natural for you to create content and how much easier that may have been. And yeah, love to hear your thoughts, love to hear your feedback, love to hear your experiences, and hopefully this bit of advice, this little tidbit of advice has been helpful for you. Look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks.